Now, about 36 bodies have been recovered in Niger State after a boat carrying more than 300 passengers, mainly women and children, capsized on Tuesday night. The Niger State Emergency Management Agency had earlier released a video of the boat that capsized on the 1st of October. TVC News cannot independently verify this video, but it shows a large number of people on the boat without life jackets. About 150 persons have been rescued and 36 bodies recovered as at Thursday, while search and rescue operations are still ongoing. Meanwhile, President Bola Tinubu has ordered an investigation into the recent cases of boat accidents in Niger State. The North Central State has been hit with a series of boat mishaps in the past 1 year, with the latest happening on Tuesday night, whereby no fewer than 36 persons, mostly women and children, were killed. An emergency official says the locally made wooden boat with a capacity of 100 passengers had about 300 people on board when it overturned in the rural Mokwa district. The president mourned the victims of the boat mishap and commiserated with the Niger State government. A really sad one there. But joining us via Zoom for this conversation is an occupational health and safety specialist, Ehi Ide. Ehi, good morning. It's good to have you join us.
Good morning, and thanks for inviting me once more.
When you look at the papers this morning, the governor of the state is also very sad about this recent incident, because he has said that there's been one too many incident of boat mishap in the state. But the question for me is, what is the challenge with ensuring safety on our waterways?
You know, sadly, this is what always happens when you have an incident like this, reoccur in our country. That we are sad doesn't mean we are doing something about it. You remember I was in your station when sometime early this year or last year when the other two mishaps happened. You know, it's rather sad that when this passes now, we all go back as if everything is normal. I was thinking that what we had before, we were able to actually build from lessons learned and improve safety in our waterways. A lot are really happening along those lines. Like when you say what are really the challenges, like you just mentioned earlier on in your report, this boat that capsized or ferry, wherever it is, this was locally made wooden boats carrying over 300 passengers. The truth is that, from where I sit and with the assumption from the report, obviously that boat was overloaded. And if you say it's a locally made wooden boat, what is the capacity? Even vehicles that are made have capacities, which they can carry at a time. How can you load 300 persons, people's children, people's husbands, people's wives, family members into a locally made wooden boat and want to ferry them across River Niger? That is suicidal on its own. Secondly, there is no regulation, really that's really effective as it concerns water transportation in Nigeria. Where that boat departed from, people were there, and were there regulators that should see that, what the requisite number of people that should be in the boat, commensurate with the capacity where the boat that entered. He left the setting jetty, before moving to where it was going to bet and drop these people. We didn't look at it from the point at which it was overloaded. People saw those things. It was just a disaster that was waiting to happen. But we saw that boat overloaded at the point it was overloaded, and nobody said a word. Now people have lost their lives. These are deaths that are absolutely preventable, but we have not been able to do what we ought to do. If you look at the report as it has read out, even in terms of rescue, local fishermen, local people within the areas where this mishap happened, they were again the first responders that went into the water to see how many people they could rescue. But the truth is that by the last interview we had in your station, when the last other mishap happened, one of the things we recommended is, being that it has become a recurring issue that local dwellers, local community people, fishermen, are the first people that come to the place of incident to respond. Why don't government bring them in as partners, as collaborators, stakeholders within this transportation system, so that you train them? Because one of the issues that we found out in some of the conversations we had, most of these local fishermen and local divers, they told us that they are able to rescue because they were trained divers, by virtue of the fire they grew up within the water. But when they bring people out, are they able to offer the basic first aid that is needed to offer? Most obviously, most people were brought out alive, rescued, they still had life in them, and died through secondary drowning. So these are a number of challenges we are having. The regulation is poor, and nobody supervises what goes on in the jetty. We need to really improve on this. It's really, really important. As a matter of fact, we need to start seeing how we can develop a national develop a national water safety plan. We need to have that. Even if we have that before, we need to see that and review it based on the things we have seen happen. If the policy you have, regulation you have, you see that it's not effective, we can't rely on them. Let's look at what are the issues, what are the things that were covered in this policy, what are the things that were not covered, and where are we able to enforce or implement the clauses that are available within this document. These are some of the very strong challenges that we are having that I think we should look into closely.
And the country's Inland Waterways Agency has also gone on to say on this ghastly case now that there is a water transportation code which was recently gazetted banning night trips, night water trips. And from what we are reading, it appears that this case, overcrowded boat, the trip itself happened at night when the officials at the time had closed. Help us speak to the factors behind this.
You see, I'm happy to hear that was what happened. The truth is that all jetties in the country are within government control. So what that means, if you have a gazette that says that there is no, night sailing or night water transport has become illegal, what that means is that jetties should be shut down at an appropriate time. When you do that, we say, okay, we are going to open this jetty from 8 o'clock or 7 o'clock to 6 p.m. At 6 p.m., those jetties should be shut down. What that means is that you can't access, if you are a passenger, you can't even access the jetties. And this is what we call implementation of policies. So you have a gazette. I'm just saying for the first time this has been gazetted. It's not just to have a gazette. We have documents, we have policies, we have legislation that are sleeping in government files. If you don't implement the clauses, every word within those policies, it's just like every other document, just like the newspaper that you kept in your drawer. We need to see how people are employed by government in those jetties. What that means is that your job is from 8 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. Whatever the case may be, there must be time allotted. And once that time reaches or clocks, what you do is that the jetty is sealed. No passenger. Because even if the boats come to the jetty, there are no passengers. There'll be nobody to carry. So when this sinks into the people over time, so when the jetties are sealed at 6 o'clock because of the rule that talks about night navigation, definitely passengers will not think of coming to board at night. Even if they come to board at night, they won't be able to access the jetty firstly. Even if the boat or the ferries are there, they won't have passengers that will come into this. So these are simple controls, but it's just that we know what to do. We don't do them until we see mishap. We start running header-scatter and say that we'll set up committees to look at issues. I think this is actually medicine after death, and we call it a reactive approach.
All right. If we have a document already, like was rightly pointed by Kemi here, and you were talking about developing a national safety plan, I am wondering how much difference this will make, knowing that we have documents that are gathering dust and we are not making use or implementing them.
Well, what Femi just mentioned was that a gazette has been signed recently, which of course is uploadable. But the point I was making before Femi brought up, I was saying we need to develop national water safety plan. I said even if there is, we need to rejig what is inherent in that document and look at how we can review them. Look at what is supposed to be there that is not there, and what is there that is no longer that is obsolete, that's no longer in line with the new world reality. But the truth is that our country that we know, do we have policies? We have policies everywhere in this country. Nigeria, as a matter of fact, Nigeria has so many policies. The problem we have in Nigeria, most profoundly, is right implementation of those policies. Policies are available. One, the policies are never promoted. People don't even know about this policy. I bet you, if you do a survey amongst those who are involved in water operations, among those who are jetty managers, I will tell you for sure that they may not have known that this policy exists. These gazettes are available. So when you have a policy that has been signed into law and you don't promote it, you don't create awareness, within the stakeholders, how will they know? Even those who will implement or who will enforce these policies are not trained on how to enforce these policies. So in the long run, we just do policies because we want it to be seen that we have this policy in the country. But if the policy is not yielding any result because of lack of appropriate implementation or enforcement, then it's not a policy. We don't have that policy. Until policy gets enforced, it's not a policy, because the laws within that policy, when it starts creating changes, that was what we can actually say we have a policy. So we need to move back again, look at that document, not to have a gazette, train people within the clauses inherent in those gazettes, responsibilities, who are the action parties, what are their responsibilities, what they ought to do, the duties, the obligations, they ought to be clearly stated, and people who are responsible need to be duly trained in line with that new gazette.
I am still interested in this national safety plan. What your vision or thoughts are that should be contained in the safety plan such that it will improve the safety of our waterways?
Okay, thank you. One of such is we first need to identify where are the high-risk areas. If Nigeria as a whole, every country is not blessed with so much water around. But we have to identify where are the high-risk areas. Do a proper survey. I'm sure we have that proper survey or study of our waterways. Where are the high-risk areas? Which of the water route people use often? And where do we have the highest level of risk? That's what research or survey will tell us. Once we have identified this, look at amongst all the waterways that we have some of them that have higher risk based on the height of the water and the turbulence and the wave within the waters and within the waterways. This is also very critical. So what that means is that when we have higher areas that have higher waves or potential higher turbulence, it means what that tells us by that study alone, it means it's not every type of ferry, every type of boat that must be used in that kind of water. What that means is that you specify, because of the water torrent that we have found prevalent in this place, S and S capacity of boat or ferries are banned. These are the specific type of boats or standard we have recommended to be used. Why? Because they are able to withstand the turbulence that comes within that waterway. That is one of the things so what that means is that every water we have classification, what standard of boats or ferries that must be used within those waters. That's what comes from the survey that we must do. Then secondly, within that policy also, we need to start teaching our people. I'm surprised. I'm happy that a certain governor in Lagos State, in the First or Second Republic, did this. When he found out that market women that were going to buy their wares through waters were drowning, what he did was set up a swimming facility around, I think it's around the back of that Falomon waters, and start teaching Lagos women how to swim. We need to, in this policy also, we need to bring swimming back to our culture. For those communities that that they always go through water, we need to start creating swimming lessons for them, so that even if people, should there be mishap, people are able to stay afloat until help comes their way. We need to strengthen public awareness on the risk inherent within the waterways. These are things that should be found in the policy. Then have what you call responsible parties. Who are the people that should implement these things? What do we look out for? Should mishap happen? What are the 1, 2, 3, 4 step chain of actions that we need to put in place? It's not just to say people drown, we rescue them. We rescue them. We're there after the rescue. We're there medical personnel. We're there people that were trained in responding to people medically, first aiders, first response officers that will actually say, okay, we want to see how we can put them in proper recovery position so that they don't have further damage. Mind you, most of the drowning that happens, when people get rescued, one of the key area that people have issues with they suffer from secondary drowning. What we do, we don't have knowledge of those first aid. We put people down and start pressing their stomach. Pressing a rescued person's stomach that has water, you are not helping that person. Instead, you are leading or sliding that person to what you call secondary drowning. The water flows into the lungs and they domicile there, and that's where the person is going to die. So most people die through secondary drowning because we don't know how to manage them. So these are all the things that should be seen in the national waterway policy I'm talking about. And again, when we have those jetties, we should identify where are the nearest hospitals, nearest health facilities that people could be taken to should it happen. And these are some of the things that should be clearly identified or clearly inserted in those policies. Don't just sit down and do policy because you are a marine engineer or you do water transportation. There should be what you call a widespread consultation. Most times policies don't have what they should have because wider consultation were never done. I just read out some issues right now. You can see where the health professionals have their role. You can see where the maybe the Ministry of Communication, Advocacy, Civil Rights Act, they all have their role. So there should be a wider consultation. Safety should be an integral part. So most time when you see these policies done, people just sit down because I work in Ministry of Transport. I work in marine management. It's not enough. There must be what you call multi-dimension approach to this, and by doing this, you're able to bring a professional from different parts of studies to actually make that input and make it a complete document that can help our people.
And what are your thoughts also about the work of the transporters themselves? Because, over the time, amidst this, heightened cases of, vessels, boats capsizing, people drowning, there's been the regular narrative, the boats are not seaworthy, wood instead, they are really rickety stuff. What are your thoughts about, the work of transport as can they get, or do they even have a self-mechanism, something like that set up in addition to the regulation arm of the government?
Let me share with you, that's a very strong point you brought in, and that's very crucial and it's painful. Let me share with you, I was going to Apapa sometime ago. The traffic was so much. The traffic was so bad, so I had to park in Marina and use the boat to cross over. Look, I came back alive because my mother has been praying for me. Because midway in between the journey, the engine stopped. I saw these guys dragging an engine. This brings to bear the maintenance culture within the water transportation. Understand the fact that when you talk about water transportation and air transport, they have clear similarities. These are the two transportation sectors or systems that should have the highest checklist. Air transport is doing that very well, but water transport, they are not doing that because there is not enough regulation. Because IATA will tell you, if you are to fly S&S aircraft, this is the conversion cost that you must get involved in for you to be licensed to fly this kind of aircraft. But boat transport or water transport is never the same. A man that flies maybe a low capacity, that drives low capacity boats, may be thrown out of that job, and the man that has a high capacity boat employs him without looking at his profiling, his credentialing, what was he credentialed to do. We don't look at that. That's part of the training and qualification of the boat operators. Secondly, we need to look at the condition of the boat I mentioned earlier on. There's barely no maintenance. We also need to see how we can have, this is why I talk about multi-dimensional approach, where we can have people that within the chain of command that will come in routinely and take out all the boats, just like we do for vehicle check. Bring your boat in, it has to be checked. So you have to run your boat for 90 days or for a quarter. If that boat is not checked and recertified, should not be within the waterways. We are not doing that. Then thirdly, we also need to see the health status of the boat operators. Not every person just jumps into the boat and up they go. Do you know that in the real sense, a boat driver or a boat captain could be midway in the sea and he has seizure. It could be a victim of seizure. It could be unduly hypertensive. Nobody knew. And everyone that is inside this boat become they are at the mercy of this boat operator. So midway into the journey, and the person has seizure. Midway into the journey, the person has sudden heart attack. A whole lockup. Some of them, they are sick. They don't want to miss the revenue for the day. They are still on the boat driving. So these are some of the issues. And again, you find out most times there are no even life jackets. Sometimes I heard the story. Sometime ago, you must wear life jacket as we embark on this journey. So as the God have said, you can remove your life jacket now if you want to remove it. So do we wear life jacket because we want to see that we are meeting the regulatory requirement, or we wear life jacket because we feel it saves our people? And mind you, these boat drivers, they know how to swim very well. When things happen, they are used to the water. They dive into the water and they themselves, and people that they carry, that they pay them for that services, they get drawn. And mind you again, that the law in maritime says that should there be a mishap or collapse of a ship, everyone, the captain needs to watch everyone go out. The captain should be the last person to go out. But when you have to talk about boat mishap in Nigeria, the boat drivers are the first to dive out to save themselves, while everyone who paid to be in that boat, they all drown, and most times it's so catastrophic, and this is it.
Right. Now, in the ecosystem, we also have the matter of the passengers. Let's also look at their role in this whole matter. You look at the number of persons that was in that boat, although they said the report says about 300 of them. And one would say there is no way that these persons have not heard of boat mishap on that same route. Or maybe they have extension of persons or friends, family members who may have even died as a result of this matter of capsizing of a boat. Now, the matter is the matter of awareness and how it's important that we take risks. Do you think that we are doing enough in that aspect of creating awareness and the dangers involved at taking such risks as this one? Because one would call it a risk. 300 persons in a boat made out of wood is a huge risk.
You see, a scholar once said, what we have learned from history is that we learn nothing from history. People that were in that boat, I bet you, they have heard, they have seen, they have read, even report. As a matter of fact, some of them they have even witnessed or narrowly missed boat mishap in time past. You see, no matter what you're going for, no matter what you want to do, how in a rush you are, how much you are going to make on that journey, or commercial possibilities are available, there is nothing that is too important for you to lose your life for. That's why you talk about the value that people also place on their lives. Because if that boat was overloaded and the people that were in that boat saw that it was overloaded, they should have been the first party that will raise an alarm that I think this boat is overloaded, we have to disembark. And you see, most times, like you said, it was in the evening or at night rather, people want to, let me just quickly jump in so I can get to where I'm going to before the morning comes. But the truth is that you are anxious to get to where you want to go to. But the truth is that with the glaring safety non-conformity practice, you will not get to where you are going to. So this is where it also becomes an issue where the passengers need to take responsibilities. When you get to a jetty, you find out that you see that the boat that you pay for is overloaded, disembark, wait for the next boat. There's nothing that is too important to you that you should lose your life for. So this is where, even when we increase the awareness on this issue, yes, it will work, but there are people who are just adamant. All they are thinking about, I need to get to this place as quickly as possible. I need to meet this client as well as possible. I need to get to my home before the dawn comes. So all these quick fixes, they lead to shortcuts. And you know, as we say, it's safety. It's easy to practice shortcuts, but what we have found out over time is that shortcuts always cut life short, and that's what we just experienced in this mishap that we saw in this incident.
Where would be the place of prosecution? As the government has spoken about investigation of cases like this. This won't be the first time the government would assure of investigations. But would you be advocating prosecution, and how do we go about it?
You can only prosecute someone that you know, someone who doesn't have right identity, someone you did not profile. First thing we should be asking government, All the jetties in Nigeria, are they profiled? All the boat operators within these jetties, are they profiled? All the boat drivers within these jetties, are they profiled? You can't prosecute who you don't know. What is the record? How much record of information do we have with the boat owners or the boat operators or the boat drivers? Yes, if we have, this is important. You see, this is where we talk about, having documentation, having policy enforcement. If those things are available, yes, would have been saying, okay, yes, let's look at what were the root causes of these accidents and look at the possible secondary causes. What could have been avoided that was not avoided? When we have this information, yes, we are able to prosecute. But the truth is that those things are scarcely available. The boat guy that was the captain or the driver of that boat may have disappeared. You won't find him again. Maybe this happened in Niger State. The guy relocates to Lagos. Nobody knows him. Another person gives him boat to start driving in Lagos. Because we don't have his name, if we have profile about this guy, what we would have done is that who was the driver of this boat? What's the registration of this boat? Then you take his number, you take his details, his pictures, his name, details are flagged within the ecosystem of that water transport. So by the time he is not worthy to drive any boat. Why? Because he has been involved in manslaughter of S&S based on personal negligence. And when that happens, we find out that there is when he comes to look for a job, his name and his face, his record, the system, he becomes unemployable. What have we done by that system alone? Because we have made him unemployable within the system, we have saved even more lives that he would have killed again through boat mishap. These are the ways, some of the ways I think we should do. We need to first have what you call proper recording, proper profiling, we need this information to work with, and this. It's not within my power to do that. The government has the structure to do this, and this is what we must do from then. After that, when things happen, we can now deploy what you call the tools or the legal instrument.
Quickly before we let you go, it looks like that route is a major route for the people. What would you proffer as a solution in the immediate or short term for the government to do for the people that apply that route?
Firstly, government need to see the kind of look at the kind of boats that are used on that route. If it's a major or busy for the people, they must go in and out of their community. To trade or to do whatever they want to do. We need to see what kind of boats can we classify to travel that route. We have seen right now that the wooden boat that was used. We don't know the structure, we don't know the capacity or the standard. Look at what happened. Government to sit down and profile the risk inherent and first do the study of the water, how turbulent it is. At AM, PM, or even at morning and evening, even the weather changes. Then once we have that, what you do afterwards is you specify these are the specification of boats or ferries that we have designated that must fly this route. What you have done with that is that you have placed the ferry or the boat that have the right capacity to withstand the turbulence within that water area to be used in that water. By so doing, you reduce the rate of capsize or boat mishap, to a significant ratio. And this is what I think should be a good place that government should start. But you must first do the study to see what is happening in that area. Then you can now, by what information you gather from that, decide the specific you need to boat that should apply that route.
Okay. Occupational Health and Safety Specialist, Ehide, thank you so much for your time on the program.
My very pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
All right.